Hello, I'm Efnan, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and stuff they are sharing around the world. On Newsfeed today, why people in India are ditching Twitter in favor of a lesser-known alternative. A Chilean politician not in the mood to answer questions makes a run for it. 30 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall, this app takes us back in time. And the internet can't get enough of the shelter cat that simply won't be contained. It's Friday's Animals Doing Stuff. First up on Newsfeed, Twitter, or more specifically, why Indian Twitter users are dumping the social media site for another one called Mastodon. They're leaving because they say the people who run Twitter aren't consistent with what they say is hate speech. Take a look.
It all started after Twitter banned a leading Supreme Court lawyer on 2 separate occasions for his posts. Many people complained, saying that Twitter was suppressing liberal and dissenting voices in India, and they joined the lawyer Sanjay Hegde in migrating to Mastodon. Here is an example of one of those views. This account says, because Twitter India is suppressing dissent, selectively suspending liberal accounts, throttling the reach while taking no action against those who are spreading hate or violence, many folks have migrated to Mastodon. Now, Twitter has responded to these claims with a statement on their own site. It's a long statement, but part of it reads, "There's been a lot of discussion this week about Twitter's perceived bias in India. To be clear, whether it's the development of policies, product features, or enforcement of our rules, we are impartial and do not take action based upon any ideology or political viewpoint." Now, there are some people who think that there's no point in abandoning Twitter at all. This writer, Sanjukta Basu, says, "This joining Mastodon is so silly, I cannot even laugh, lol. Do you guys not know that Twitter was Mastodon once? That every Mastodon of today is a Twitter of tomorrow? That nobody was born on Twitter? Find a way to hold Twitter accountable, silly boys. Also, take to the streets." Now, Mastodon is an open source platform created in 2016, and the open source bit means that it's not run by any single entity. Mastodon claims to have over 2.2 million users in comparison to Twitter, which has over 300 million.
Let's have a look now at some other things that caught our eye on social media. KFC South Africa has made this happy couple go viral by sharing the moment this guy dropped down on one knee to propose to the love of his life while the pair was enjoying lunch. Turns out the couple can't afford a big wedding, so people have been donating money to them. Some big brands have even gotten on board, offering them a honeymoon and tons of other goodies. Chilean politician Evelyn Matei dodged some curly questions from a local reporter yesterday by literally running away. Matei, a mayor of Providencia, has been critical of how the government is dealing with the current political crisis in Chile. So maybe making a run for it seemed like it was the right thing to do at the time. In typical internet style, her sprint has turned into endless memes. She even shared some of them on her own Twitter account. Well, at least she can laugh at herself. Environmental NGOs say there has been a 4-fold increase in people and businesses investing in carbon-reducing projects in developing countries. This is all thanks to what's being called the Greta Thunberg effect. The young climate activist is playing a huge role in leading protests against the climate crisis that have filled the streets across the globe. Nice to see it's making an impact. And everyone is talking about Frozen 2, which has had its world premiere in Hollywood overnight. In the sequel, Elsa, the Snow Queen, and her sister embark on an adventure far away from the kingdom of Ardennes. FYI, it's not just children who are stoked about this one. Adults are also expressing their excitement online. It's due to hit theaters later this month. Now, Saturday marks 30 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall, and for young people who simply can't imagine what it was like to live behind the Iron Curtain, well, there's an app for that. Here's Adama.
Peter Kulski is bringing history back to life. His augmented reality app shows people where the Berlin Wall was and how it changed in the years it stood.
Of course, I didn't really understand what the wall was. It was the end of the world, I thought. You could look left and right, but you couldn't see anything ahead, and it was without an end in both directions.
Filmmaker Fabian Gohard collected stories from people who lived near the wall for the app. He says he wanted to introduce the history in a way that was all-inclusive.
These days, a lot of history is shortened and simplified because there is this idea that people can't handle too much. I don't believe that. I think people can handle a lot when it's presented in an interesting way. For that, AR is very interesting technology, especially for things like the Berlin Wall. We can put objects that are gone back in the place where they were and confront people with them.
The Berlin Wall was a symbol of the Cold War, an ideological and economic battle between the capitalist West and communist East. Saturday marks 30 years since the wall came down. On November 9, 1989, the East German Communist Party announced its citizens could cross the border. Crowds of people swarmed the wall. Historians say it was the beginning of the end of the Cold War too.
With the remnants of the wall and the original wall pieces, we can explain how the border regime of the East German state worked. And then you understand what it was like to live in a dictatorship. And also then in return, what it is like not to live in a dictatorship and how valuable freedom, democracy and human rights are.
Across Berlin, there are a few parts of the wall that still stand. And the Berlin Wall Memorial on Bernauer Street attracts more than 1 million people a year. Through this app, many more will see the wall as it once was, in the hope that history will never repeat.
Now to New York, where the world's biggest marathon takes place every year. Mutsalip went along on the weekend to watch one of the many international runners in this year's race.
Hi, this is Muttalip again. Today I'm going to meet with a friend visiting from Germany to attend a special event taking place in New York. He's going to run the world's largest marathon. Come on, let's meet with him. Bernardo says he decided to join the marathon last May in a family trip. He thought it might be a fun thing to do, but it seems like it is not as easy as it seems. He says,
it takes commitment, it takes motivation, and of course then you have to practice a lot, get a lot of miles and kilometers into your legs.
Nevertheless, he thinks it's a privilege to run in the New York Marathon.
Doing it in New York, which is the most iconic marathon, is quite amazing, and I feel privileged to have this opportunity.
Like him, there are hundreds of amateur runners from all around the world sharing the same dream, completing the New York City Marathon as quickly as possible. Here we are at the world's largest marathon taking place in this iconic city of New York. There are more than 50,000 people running, along with 2.5 million people watching. Woo! Run! The marathon course runs through all 5 boroughs of New York, starting from Staten Island, then going through Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and finishes in Manhattan's Central Park. Instead of congested traffic, the city's bridges, roads and streets welcome the runners and spectators cheering for their loved ones on this special day. We are in Queens at the moment waiting for our friend. Thanks to the New York City Marathon's official application, we are able to track him on live. He should be here soon. Apart from live tracking, the free app also tells a runner's distance to the finish line, even the expected finish time according to a runner's pace. It made it so easy to find our friend among the other runners. After all we needed to do is to show him some support and cheering. He is just one of the runners coming from Germany to enjoy his first marathon. Like him, there are also running enthusiasts coming from different countries to enjoy a beautiful New York day, cheerful crowd, and some live music. Now he's talking to his family after finishing the whole marathon. Bernardo ran 26.2 miles today, more than 40 kilometers at once, and he prepared for this for months. And now when he's ready, we're gonna start talking to him. Nice.
So all this for this piece of metal.
Here we go. Show him, show him.
An Indian B-girl is breaking stereotypes by doing what she does best, breakdancing. She's set to bring her sass to the Red Bull BC One international competition. Check it out.
You don't need equipment, you don't need a studio, you don't even need shoes. So that's why like a lot of kids also pick it up. I saw her like riding her bike around and like changing the bulbs, paying the electricity bills, going and filing police complaints when necessary, like if something goes wrong. So I saw my mom doing all these things, and I grew up not knowing the difference between what is a role of a man and what is a role of a woman. It's important for me to reclaim what is perceived as feminine, because I feel like it's really small and limited. It's like a pinhole view of what it is to be a woman. And yes, of course, as women, maybe we of course like to be beautiful and we like to feel elegant and graceful, but there's also a very strong side to us.
And lastly, Friday's Animals Doing Stuff is a cat that just won't be contained. Described as the Houdini of the cat world, Quilty will go into great lengths to set not only himself free, but also his fellow felines.
Today's update, Quilty now believes he can definitely escape through the windows. Update, this mother effer got out. We perp walked him back to the room.
Well, that's all from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints, and suggestions at Efnan_Hun. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Follow, subscribe, and add. See you tomorrow.